In a sprawling farm nestled in the heart of a peaceful countryside, there lived a chicken named Little Light. Little Light was far from remarkable. Its feathers lacked the glossy sheen of its peers, its frame was smaller and frilier than the other chickens, and its crow was a faint, almost pitiful squeak compared to the robust calls of the roosters. Among the bustling flock, Little Light was often overlooked, ignored by the other chickens and barely noticed by the farmers' children who played in the yard. Yet, deep within its tiny heart burned an extraordinary dream, a dream so audacious it seemed absurd to everyone else. Little Light wanted to become the bravest, most respected chicken on the farm. More than that, it yearned to soar over the towering wooden fence that encircled the farm and discover the vast, unknown world beyond. To the other chickens, this was pure folly. Chickens don't fly, they clucked with disdain. We're meant to peck at the ground, lay eggs, and sleep. Leave flying to the birds. But Little Light paid no heed to their mockery. It believed with unwavering conviction that with enough effort, it could achieve the impossible. Every morning, as the first rays of dawn crept into the henhouse, Little Light was the first to rise. While the other chickens slumbered, it slipped out quietly and made its way to a secluded patch of open ground near the farm's edge. There, it began its daily ritual, flapping its wings with all its might. Its wings were small and weak, but each flap felt like a step closer to the sky. The other chickens noticed Little Light's strange behavior and laughed. "You're wasting your time, Little Light," they jeered. "You'll never fly. You're just a chicken." The words stung, but Little Light refused to let them dim its resolve. "If I don't try," it thought, "how will I ever know what I'm capable of?" And so, it pressed on, day after day, even when its wings ached and its body trembled from exhaustion. It fell countless times, tumbling into the dirt, but each fall only strengthened its determination. As weeks turned into months, Little Light's efforts began to bear fruit. Its wings grew stronger, and its jumps reached greater heights. One day, after countless attempts, Little Light managed to leap onto a rock taller than itself, a small victory, but one that filled it with newfound confidence. Emboldened, it set its sights on a new challenge, a low tree near the farm's edge. The first attempt ended in a painful crash, leaving Little Light bruised and covered in dust. But it got up, shook off the dirt, and tried again. And again. And again. The other animals on the farm began to take notice. The old cow, grazing lazily in the field, remarked, "That little chicken's got some grit." Even Big Red, the proud rooster who had once led the chorus of mockery, began watching Little Light with quiet curiosity. Time passed, and Little Light's persistence paid off in ways no one could have imagined. On a bright, breezy afternoon, Little Light climbed onto a large boulder at the farm's edge. It took a deep breath, summoned every ounce of strength, and flapped its wings furiously. Then, with a mighty leap, it launched itself into the air. For a fleeting moment, the impossible happened. Little Light flew over the fence. It was not a graceful flight, more of a clumsy glide, and it landed in a heap on the other side, but it had done it. Little Light had become the first chicken in the farm's history to cross the barrier that confined them all. The news spread like wildfire. The chickens clucked in disbelief, the ducks quacked in amazement, and the farmers' children ran to the fence, wide-eyed and cheering. Little Light was no longer the overlooked underdog, it was a hero, a legend in the making, but Little Light's journey didn't end there. Crossing the fence was only the beginning. The world beyond was vast and daunting, filled with wonders and dangers alike. Little Light knew that to survive and thrive, it needed to become stronger, smarter, and braver. So, it continued its training with even greater fervor. It practiced flying longer distances, learning to glide with the wind rather than against it. It studied the world around it, memorizing the patterns of predators like foxes and hawks, learning to hide in tall grass or dart into thickets when danger loomed. It taught itself to forage, pecking at wild berries and seeds, discovering which plants were safe and which were not. Every challenge was a lesson, and every lesson made Little Light more resilient. The world outside the farm was not always kind. One chilly evening, as dusk settled over the fields, Little Light narrowly escaped the snapping jaws of a cunning fox. Heart pounding, it scrambled into a dense patch of brambles, its feathers torn but its spirit unbroken. Another time, caught in a fierce storm, it wandered lost in the dark, soaked and shivering, until it found shelter beneath a gnarled tree. These trials tested Little Light's courage, but they also sharpened its instincts. It learned to read the sky for signs of rain, to listen for the rustle of predators in the grass, and to navigate by the stars on clear nights. Slowly but surely, Little Light became a master of survival, a chicken unlike any other. Word of Little Light's exploits began to spread beyond the farm. Travelers passing through the countryside carried tales of the little chicken that defied its nature, inspiring other animals to dream bigger. In a nearby forest, a timid rabbit, inspired by Little Light's story, ventured out of its burrow to explore new meadows. In a distant valley, a young deer, hearing of Little Light's courage, found the strength to cross a rushing river for the first time. Little Light's story became a beacon of hope, a reminder that no dream was too big, no obstacle too great, for those willing to try. Years passed, and Little Light grew older. Its feathers, once plain and dull, now carried the scars of its adventures, each tear and fray a badge of honor. It had seen meadows painted with wildflowers, rivers that sparkled under the sun, and mountains that touched the clouds. It had faced dangers and triumphed, not because it was the strongest or the fastest, but because it refused to give up. One day, Little Light returned to the farm, not to stay within its fences, but to visit the place where its journey began. The younger chickens gathered around, their eyes wide with awe as they listened to tales of its adventures. The farmer's children, now grown, still told the story of the little chicken that flew, passing it down to their own children as they sat by the fire on chilly nights. Little Light, now content to rest in a quiet corner of the farm, watched the new generation of chickens peck and play. It knew its days of soaring were behind it, but its legacy lived on. The fence, once a symbol of limitation, was now a reminder of what could be achieved with courage and perseverance. Little Light had found true freedom, not just in crossing the fence, but in proving that no dream was too big for a heart brave enough to chase it. Its story lived on, whispered in the rustling leaves, sung in the morning crows, and carried in the hearts of every animal who dared to believe that they, too, could fly. Do you still like today's story? If you like, please remember to subscribe to this channel and click the like icon. You can receive notifications and hear the latest stories as soon as possible. Good night, my baby.